and also those who are via Facebook streaming. The Sutras of Heraklitus. Dreams are private. Whatsoever is private, certainly it belongs to the world of dreams. It belongs to the world of dreams. Heraclitus says the waking has one world in common. Sleepers have each a private world of their own. Before I go into the Sutra of Heraklitus, it is important to know something about him. Heraclitus belonged to Ephesus and he lived between 535 BC to 475 BC. He was a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher and a native of the Greek city of Ephesus that existed on the coast of Asia Minor. He was born of a distinguished parentage. Little is known about his early life and education. However, he is regarded as the self-taught and a pioneer of wisdom. He led a lonely life and is still more from the riding nature of his philosophy and his contempt of humankind in general. He is known as obscure and the weeping philosopher. Heraclitus is famous for his insistence on ever-present change in the universe. This he is stated in the famous saying, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." A very significant statement. No man ever steps in the same river twice. Remember, river is a flow. River is not something stationary. It has two banks. River has two banks, and between these two banks is the river bed where the water flows. Now, these banks of the river can be used as examples, similes, to explain something else. Along the spiritual path, your emphasis should be on growing in awareness. In Washington, I spoke on three things: life, love, and light. Now I am talking about river and two banks and that which flows between the two banks. Whenever the word sex is used, we found a greater interest is generated. Because this word is used, the post is in Hindi, everybody wants to know what is the English translation. When I spoke of action, all these are the same, belong to the same domain if you have awareness. Otherwise, you will find gathering the pebbles here and there and will not gain any momentum in life. When I said sex is life, yes, that is how it is. So life begins in darkness. Then comes love, part dark, part in light. Then light comes in. This is how the journey begins, through sex, darkness or unconsciousness or life. It carries the seed of life. And when I took the same thesis to weave something else, you can take a fruit. Let's talk about a mango fruit. You can eat a mango fruit, enjoy it. It has the seed and you throw away the seed. You enjoyed the fruit and you threw away the seed. This is an action. But this comes in the category of neutral action. Having eaten the fruit, the seed is thrown away. It is of no use. You throw it away. Neutral action. On the contrary, if you are wise enough, you meditate over it. You eat the fruit, enjoy every bit of it. Then you take the seed and plant it. When you plant the seed grows in the womb of the earth. It goes through the process of pressure and through meditation, through love, it blossoms, it becomes flower. You cannot, flower has its own beauty. Thereafter the flower becomes fruit. And when it becomes fruit, it has the capability of giving many more seeds. Something that was in action, you saw the action in it. This is the state of the wise. Use the same example. Sex is in action. You enjoy it and finish with it. When you see action into it, wisdom, you have enjoyed it. You have lived, understood every moment of it. Then the flower of love blossoms out of it. Sex plus meditation, sex plus introspection, sex plus understanding becomes the flower. And then when it continues to grow, it becomes the fruit. It is the fruit that alone carries the seeds in its womb. So fruit has the nature of compassion. It is the compassion that carries the possibility when compassion flows towards the other, something begins to happen. All these can be put together, but the moment I am speaking of life, love, and light, wow, finished. The moment I am speaking of the same thing as action, that's all right. I know all about karma, so I don't need to know that. The moment it comes sex, the interest grows. We want to know, what did I say? The emphasis is on gathering the pebbles, whereas the emphasis should be on beingness. So when Heraclitus says, no man ever steps in the same river twice. Now river has two banks, man and woman, the masculine and the feminine energy, the Shiva and Shakti. All these are two banks. When there is two banks, something flows in between the two. In the beginning, it is outcome of unconsciousness. So you cannot enter into it twice. So at the moment when you are entering the river, you have to be totally aware. The same example, but now this will not interest anyone. And the very truth of life is, when the two opposites unite with one another, the growth, it gains momentum, the journey begins, or whichever way you want to put into it. When we are talking about energy, two energies merge into one another, two opposites merge into one another, momentum is gained. Heraclitus said, in the unity of opposites, is stating that the path up and down are one and the same. All existing things being characterized by the pairs of contradictory properties. The life comes into existence when the two opposites merge into one another. Both opposites emerge from different sources. The positive energy comes from outside. It comes in the form of light. When light interacts with organs of perception and action, a thought process begins. When this positive energy interacts with the negative, a process begins. It can be in the form of life, new life is taking place. It can be in the form of interaction between ovum and sperm, or in any form. Heraclitus' utterances were considered as cryptic. His cryptic utterance that all things come to be in accordance with this logos stands for the reason, order, or law in an ever-shifting world. Dreams are absolutely private. No one can enter your dreams. You cannot share a dream even with your beloved. Husbands and wives, they sleep on the same bed but dream separately. It is impossible to share a dream because it is nothing. How can you share something that does not exist? It is like a bubble. It is absolutely non-existential. You cannot share it. Therefore, you have to dream alone. And so much importance is given to dreams. We go on getting the interpretations of the dreams. There are so many sleepers that there exist so many worlds. You live in your own world. If you are asleep, you live enclosed in your own thoughts, concepts, dreams, and desires. Whenever you meet another person, two worlds clash. Two worlds are in collision now, and that is what the situation is. You have to watch it. Look at a husband and wife talking. In reality, they are not talking at all. The husband is thinking about the office, the salary, while the wife is thinking about clothes for the Christmas party. Inside, they have their own private worlds, but their private worlds meet somewhere and clash because the wife's special dress will depend on the salary of the husband, as he has to provide for the wife's dresses. The wife says, "Darling," but behind the word darling are dresses. She is thinking about the dresses, so the word darling is empty and has a definitive motive. The word does not mean that which is written in the dictionary, because every time a woman or a man says darling, this is now just a facet, and the other immediately becomes afraid. The other does not show it, of course, because when someone says darling, you cannot show it. Instead, you say, "What is dear? How are you?" But he is afraid because he is thinking of his salary and he knows Christmas is coming and there is a danger. So the words become empty because we go on living in our own worlds, dream worlds, which do not match. I have heard one day Mullah Nasruddin's wife was asking him, "What has happened? Lately, I even cry and tears roll down my face, and you do not ask for the cause of my cry, the tears rolling down." Nasruddin replied, "Enough is enough. Each time your tears roll down the cheeks, it costs too much to ask. And in the past, I have committed that mistake so many times, because those tears are not just tears. Instead, these are dresses, a new house, a new furniture, a new car. Many things are hidden behind those tears. Those tears are just a start. No dialogue is possible because there are two different worlds inside. only conflict is possible. Dreams are private. Truth cannot be private. Truth cannot be private. It cannot be mine or yours. Truth cannot be Christian or Hindu. Truth cannot be Indian or Greek or German. Truth cannot be private. Dreams are private. And whatsoever is private, remember, it must belong to the world of dreams. Truth is an open sky. It is for all, and it is one. That is why when Lao Tse speaks, the language may be different. Buddha talks. Buddha talks, the language is different. Heraklitus talks, the language is different. But they mean the same thing. When I speak on life, love, and light, you have to understand how does the life moves. Once you have known the principle, then there is no problem. The basic Hindu teaching is, that is Upanishad. You are sitting in the company of the master, not imitating him, not doing things what he is doing the way he is doing. The imitation cannot lead anyone far. The disciple says, teach me that principle, knowing which everything becomes known. But in the West, when we go to a meditation session or anywhere, we walk with our notebook and a pen. Even I have noticed, when you are going to Bhagavad Gita classes or meditation classes, you are supposed to carry your notebook and a pen to take the notes. These are pseudo-religions. Cannot take you far. You have to know that, knowing which everything becomes known. That principle. And that principle is awareness. It begins with mindfulness. Like a Zen hammer. I used to get all the time the hammer the moment I miss the awareness and start imitation. But following the master like a monkey. Monkey tricks are, it follows the master. Master is doing this, I will do the same thing. Buddhists are doing the same thing. Buddha sat in the lotus posture, so maybe lotus posture can give me enlightenment. Maybe eating the sweet rice can give me the enlightenment. Enlightenment comes when awareness reaches its peak. And awareness does not come by imitation. I am speaking this. This will go deaf ears. We have taken the notes and that is it. And the notes goes in the archives. And we continue to do things according to our innerness. That innerness needs to change. Unless that changes, you cannot journey along the path of awareness. The private world, Buddha and all these people indicated the same truth. Private world has disappeared with their dreams, desires and the mind. Mind has a private world, but consciousness has no private worlds. The waking has one world in common. All those who are awake, Buddha is awake, Heraclitus is awake, Jesus is awake, Lao Tse is awake, and all those who are awake, they have one word in common, and that is existence. And all those who are asleep and dreaming have their own worlds, diversified and has many faces. I ask you to be in the world, but do not let the world be in you. Your world has to be dropped. Your world that you live in has to be dropped. Indeed, that is the only thing I require of you. I do not ask you to leave your family, your wife, your husbands. I do not ask you to leave your job. I do not ask you to leave the money or anything else. No. I simply say, leave your private world of dreams. That is the beginning of the spiritual life. Leaving the private world is the beginning of the spiritual journey for me. There is no need to leave this world, the visible. There is no need to go to the mountains or the caves, leaving the wife, husband, children. That is not the point at all. That is not the world to leave. How can you leave it? Wherever you go, it will follow you. Even the Himalayas, the mountains, the caves belong to the world. Where would you go? The real world which has to be renounced is the world of dreams, the mind. And the private dreamings, if you renounce it, sitting in the marketplace, as if you are on the mountains, as if you are in the caves, if you do not renounce it, even in the mountains, you will create a private world around you. How can you escape yourself? The mind is you, the dreams is you. Wherever you go, the mind goes with you. There are three things: the body, the mind, and the wealth. So when Hindus do the yajna, the sacrificial fire, three things are used. Symbolic of the physical, the gross. Symbolic of the fluid-like, the mind, which we need to change. So three things are used, which are an important ingredient. The clarified butter or ghee is used, which symbolizes wealth. Sesame seeds are used, which symbolizes the mind. And the third thing, the physical. So these three things, when they are purified, the body is purified, the mind is purified. First, wherever your body goes, the mind follows. And whenever mind follows, the wealth follows. So the gross, The mind and wealth follow one another. You are the mind. Wherever your feet will go, your mind will go. And with that, the wealth follows. So you cannot escape yourself. Wherever you go, you will go with your mind. Wherever you go, you will behave in the same way. Whether you are in the temple, in the church, or in the office, at home, your behavior will remain the same because you are carrying you with you. Situations may be different, but how can you be different? You will be asleep in the Himalayas, or in New York, or in London, or anywhere else, wherever you will be. What difference does it make whether you sleep in New Delhi, or you sleep in Boston, or you sleep in London or in Himalayas? Wherever you are, you will be dreaming. The moment you start bringing awareness into it, you will find the dreams starts disappearing slowly and slowly. If your waking state has been full of awareness, then when you go to sleep, the dreams will start getting less and less. And a moment comes when even in dreams you are totally aware. Otherwise, what happens? If you are dreaming, the body is never at rest. The body is never at rest because it is connected to the mind. Mind is creating dreams, body is responding to it. And you will find your bed becomes a wrestling bout. Buddha slept in one posture. And Anand was surprised. He wanted to know what happens. Buddha says, my mind is at rest. Whether I am waking or sleeping or in whatever state, there is no dreams. The dreams have vanished. Body needs rest. So body is resting and it doesn't need to change the posture. It can remain in one posture. If body has any kind of discomfort, then it may be a different situation, different state. Otherwise, there is no need to change the posture. And so the awareness is the key. And when you grow into awareness, which is the principle, once you have captured it, once you have known this, then all the scriptures and everything becomes futile. You will not be collecting the pebbles. Instead, you understand it, and the moment you understand it, it becomes part of your growth. It happened recently. I had posted something in Hindi. Now there was anxiety to get its English translation because it has used the word. 3 aspects. Kam, which refers to sex, then love, then bhakti. A sequence. English translation is needed. But I had already spoken on this aspect many times, because there isn't anything else, unconscious or subconscious to conscious and conscious to superconscious. That's the journey. That's the principle. Unconscious can be the dream. Unconscious can be life. Unconscious can be the seed. Unconscious can be, and always unconscious is the seed. The seed is sown in a state of unconscious or subconscious state, and from there it has to go through the process of meditation to come into the light. And meditation, the moment this unconscious seed goes in the process of meditation. Meditation begins with awareness. The light begins to penetrate. When the light begins to penetrate, a new growth begins. With the pressure of the earth, new life begins to germinate. The light, the two poles, opposite poles, merge into one another. Something new begins to take shape. Then the moment it comes into light, a new journey begins. So once you understand these three things, the seed, the moment I said seed is flower, how seed could be flower? In your mind, because you are mind, you see as two separate things, but it is a process. It is the seed that becomes the flower. It is the seed that has the potentiality to become the flower. It is the seed that has the potentiality to become the fruit. The entire process begins. The entire spirituality is spread in three words. Journey from seed to the fruit. And from the fruit, it has many seeds in it. And each seed is capable of creating a new process. And when you reach to that state, from seed to the fruit, that is the point of awakening, that is enlightenment. Compassion has attained its fruition. It flows like millions of seeds being scattered all around. The whole season of spring comes in. So emphasis should be on knowing that, teach me that, knowing which everything becomes known. I explained to you all things much more in details. I had never had the opportunity like this. Observing the masters, not imitating them, you grow into awareness. How would he interact in this particular situation? You are connected to his subtle body. But if your emphasis is on imitating, you will miss that point. You will come to get the answer to this particular question. particular situation or problem. Growing into awareness is the beginning of the new journey, the spirituality. So when Heraclitus said, no one ever enters the same river twice, river is a flow, and it is constantly flowing, it is not stationary. So when you enter in a particular situation. Then now when I speak of a particular situation, say how that could be possible, of the water. Yes, water is flowing, time flows. A circumstance and situation comes, it never remains stationary, next moment it changes. The moment changes, how can you bring back the same circumstance and situation? Christians are waiting for Jesus to come. 2000 years have passed, but it is not. But the sermon goes on, Jesus is coming. The Lord is coming. Let him come. But do you think your God is like Henry Ford creating the cars on an assembly line, and then in order to identify two cars from one another, a chassis number, an engine number and a number plate, chassis number and the engine number is given, that is hidden. But in order to identify the body of the car, a car number plate is given. Each number plate is different. The color, the make of the car may be the same, but the number plate differs. The engine and the chassis number differs. The world has to be in a reverse gear. The empire of Judea, the King Herod, all those have to be brought into for Jesus to come back. Yes, Jesus can come back. He can be born in you. The consciousness of Jesus can be born through you, manifest through you. Everyone has to attain to that consciousness, and this is the meaning of Jesus is coming back. But the moment it is said Jesus is coming back, you think this, and nobody knows what the Jesus looked like. Jesus is coming back. Then you continue to live in your own world, and that cannot take you far. That cannot give you the freedom. In order to attain to freedom, we have to come out of this quagmire of the mind, this world of dreaming. You have to flow with the river, flow with the circumstance and situations as it comes. And remember, this same circumstance and situation is not going to come back again. Be aware that alone is the path. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow, take care and do have a pleasant day.